right, we might as well get going in essence of time. So I want to welcome everyone today. Thank you so much for your interest in this webinar we're hosting today. Just so you know, the webinar is being recorded and available to all who registered. So I can make that available to you if you reach out to us afterwards. So my name is Amy Strachan. I am the executive assistant here at Pollinate Networks, in case anyone doesn't know me. So I just wanted to tell everyone who may not know about Pollinate, just a little bit about Pollinate. So we are a mentoring technology and solutions organization. We've been researching, running mentoring programs since 2008. We have a platform that is amazing that enables organizations to run mentoring programs that are efficient, fair, fulfilling. And one thing, our little claim to fame, one thing that we really love are our algorithms. So we have algorithms that we use to work with the data to find organizations their best matches when it comes to setting up mentoring programs or groups. So I just wanted to quickly just give you a little glimpse of our agenda today. So just a little bit of a welcome. I want to walk through a little bit of how we got connected with the International Fresh Produce Association. And then some introductions, and then we'll get it going with the nitty-gritty questions. So first off, Pollinate and the International Fresh Produce Association connected a few years ago. So, and maybe Megan, you'll have to stop me if I'm speaking incorrectly, but the International Fresh Produce Association is a global trade organization representing the fresh produce and floral industry. So IFPA integrates world-facing advocacy and industry-facing support through the representation of interests, individuals, and organizations across the global supply chain of all sizes and specialties. So with IFPA, we got together with them back in 2021, so a few years ago. They embarked on the creation of a mentoring program aimed at supporting connection and spurring collaboration for its industry members at its virtual spring conference. So that program was received really, really well. And with great enthusiasm, we continued to partner with IFPA to expand and formalize the program. It launched again at the Spring 2023 conference, and the conference was actually called the Women's Fresh Perspectives Conference, and it was held in Orlando, Florida. So with the momentum continuing from that 2023 program, a 2024 program was also launched, and it continues to this day. So just a few highlights and successes. There's a few on the screen there. The mentoring program with IFPA has actually tripled in size since we began. So we have over 260 participants in the program currently. The participants represent over 80 organizations from 50, maybe more locations all across the globe. There's been a combination of in-person as well as virtual connections between all the participants. And the different types of subjects that the mentors and mentees have talked about have been wide-ranging. They could be anything from managing others to setting strategy to communications to marketing to business acumen, sales, retail. The possibilities are endless what these folks have connected on. So continuing on, I just want to introduce my CEO at Pollinate Networks, Christy Pettit. She's our moderator for today. So a little background on Christy for those of you who may not have attended one of our webinars or know us. So Christy, for well over 25 years, Christy has provided innovative leadership, expert advice, and successful implementation of effectiveness best practices in companies worldwide. Christy consistently creates strategies that make a lasting difference within businesses, often doubling the value of their internal resources while leading initiatives to increase employee engagement and success while decreasing overall costs. Christy started her career originally as an organizational development consultant before co-founding a company called OD Score. And OD Score was rebranded in 2019 to become Pollinate Networks. As I described before, that is us today. And last but
Thank
not
you,
least,
Amy.
last but not least, Megan, I want to extend the warmest of welcomes to Megan Nash. Megan is the Director of Education and Talent at the International Fresh Produce Association. She has a decade of experience in the produce and floral industry. Megan began her career in produce in 2008, spending 5 years as a sales and customer service representative with Country Fresh Mushroom Co. Her passion for the industry led her to the Center for Growing Talent, where she became program manager in 2013. During her first 3 years with CGT, Megan focused primarily on attracting new talent into the produce and floral industries through management of the Career Pathways programs, university outreach, and young professionals initiatives. Always eager to grow, Megan became the program director in 2016, where she concentrated on the execution and expansion of the Center for Growing Talent's attraction and development programs, ensuring they address the industry's talent needs. In her current role as Director, Education and Talent at IFPA, Megan and her team create education and talent experiences that support the members at IFPA and their ongoing needs. She thrives when she is collaborating, which we love, and she loves to elevate experiences and find new and creative ways to deliver value. So there we go. I had to give you that glowing.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Glowing,
What a way to start. Build me
yay,
up
good.
there. I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm just going to pass it over to you, Christy, to carry on. We've got a series of questions here that we're going to be asking, and Megan and the both of you will be discussing together, that really are all about how Megan and fresh perspectives and how she has done so well at organizing and implementing a membership program for associations.
Thank you, Amy. Well done on the intros.
Yay.
We love the good, as Megan said, the good build up. And welcome everyone. We are so excited to see you here. Have a look at the questions. I am going to go through the questions. We're not going to have them on the screen the whole time. If you have other questions, and we have had some come from folks who are going to download the recording but are not with us today, so we'll add those in as well. But I'm excited about this opportunity because Megan we've run many mentorship programs, collaborative learning types of programs. And I really feel, Megan, like you have struck a nerve in your association. And I want to get a little bit behind how you managed to do that. But also, you have a lot of experience with what makes a successful program and how it fits into the picture and so on. So excited to chat with you today. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
For sure. So let's start with a good general question. When we think about, you have a whole portfolio of things you're offering, and from, watching your LinkedIn and the LinkedIn goings on of IFPA, there's lots of activity going on. Tell us a little bit about how you see mentorship as an advantage, and how did you know that the organization, the association, and the members were ready to have a mentoring program?
Sure. So to give some clarity too, because I know probably some of you are thinking they mentioned a bunch of different associations in my intro, and I'm currently at IFPA. IFPA comes from the legacy of United Fresh Produce Association and the Produce Marketing Association. We came together to form the International Fresh Produce Association in 2022. Both of those legacy organizations had the talent portion of the work that we do as a priority in the legacy organization. So in PMA, it was a little different. We had the Center for Growing Talent that was specifically focused on talent attraction and development. And then United had their own set of talent programs as well. And when the associations came together, they really felt that it was a priority to level that talent experience up to be one of the core focuses of the association overall. And that really has helped us to be able to continue to advance these programs that we put on, both by what we're seeing as a need from an association perspective and what we're hearing as a response from the membership. So what I would start with is that, when you think about an association, and those of you that are part of an association, it's really all about those connections that you're making and that you're facilitating for your members. So those could be your personal connections, they could be something professional, or that could be simply, having a trade show where they're able to make a more transactional connection. But when you think about that, we really need to be able to bring our members together and both connect them to resources to thrive as businesses, but also to thrive as individuals. In our industry, relationships are paramount. I think if you asked anyone who works in the fresh produce and floral industry, and Christy, you probably saw it and experienced it at the conference, those relationships are so key in continuing the overall health of the individual businesses and companies. But really, when you look at industry as a whole and trying to continue to facilitate more consumption of fresh fruits, fresh veggies, and fresh floral, we need to be able to do that together. And it starts with the people that are involved in the industry. So I think that's really been the catalyst for how do we start to continue to retain this talent to make our businesses run and make our association at the end of the day prosper for our members. So how do we offer some more of those development opportunities to the talent that's in the industry? As you mentioned, we have a number of different offerings from Attract to Develop programs. And we try to, what we found is those are great, but how do you extend that interaction and those takeaways beyond that? And I think mentoring is a key way to be able to do that.
I love what you said, and I think that answers or starts to answer, the question around where does mentoring fit in the portfolio. I love how you said two things. One is we need to help people thrive as in their businesses, or the businesses to thrive, but the individuals as well. And then extending people's experiences through mentorship enhances the other offerings that you have. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as anyone knows, a program, an event, a webinar like this, it's a moment in time. And then we all go back and we get busy.
The waters close in.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's the to-do list? What do I have next? And some of those things that were so key and that made an impact, might get put in that second pile that you don't have time to get to at that day. By having the mentor piece, what we found is that you have someone to hold you accountable for some of those goals that you're setting, or even just to talk about some of the things that you learned. And that really helps extend the value that we're offering members beyond just the moment in time at the event or program, and take it further throughout the course of the rest of their year or beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about other key success factors and how do you mitigate risk? Because putting people together can be a bit risky. If it doesn't work out, sometimes that's very not engaging. It's unengaging. There's some risk there. So how have you, or what are your observations around, really elevating the program or de-risking the program, adding the things that make it successful? We've learned a lot together.
We've
over
learned
the
a lot.
years.
Yes.
We've learned a lot.
I think the key is really, and I think this goes back to too, like the question on when you're ready for something like this is it's really all about listening to your members and to your audience and what they're showcasing as their needs, and how you're building something that, yes, meets your overall association goals and your membership goals, but you're building something that's in demand for them, that they know is going to make a difference, that they see as valuable, that they see as something they want to buy into. So I think that constant feedback is crucial and important. You've done a great job with the pulse checks that you and Renata put out to make sure we're not just putting something out there and letting it fly. It's the constant check-in to say, is this doing what you're looking for it to do for you? And if not, how can we adjust or change things to better meet your needs? as an individual and as a company, and that all levels up to as an industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think if I have to observe as well, I think that, as you say, sort of keeping the pulse going, observing what people are looking at, making sure that the matches work well, that has served us well. And also knowing that even with our best efforts, there may be a small group of people whose lives change
Yeah.
and who may not be able to participate the way that they had hoped. And being able to deal, I've seen you wade into that with a lot of grace for people. We do ask people for a commitment up front, but when that happens, having some grace seems to be one of the things that keeps the other partner engaged, even if the first partner couldn't follow through. So I've noticed that has been something that has built a bit of a culture around the program as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you have to, whenever you're starting something new, right? Or maybe retrying something that didn't work the first time. It's setting those realistic expectations for yourself. Um, and I think that goes along with knowing that some of these things are not going to pan out how you thought they originally would. And it's giving that space and clearly communicating to those involved in the program that that's okay. I think we learned a lot along the way that I would rather give you the space and make you feel comfortable where you can come to us and say, look, I had the best intentions when I started out on this. I wanted to go in full force. I was so excited, but you know what? I just got put on a new project and that's going to take all my time. And I really don't have the ability to be a mentor right now. That is so much better for me to be able to call Christy and say, hey, look, this person can no longer participate. What can we do for their mentee, or vice versa, rather than us getting the call of, I'm just not hearing from my mentor or mentee. So I think whenever you start something like this, setting those clear expectations and communicating that in the front of the conversation is really important, because it makes people feel like they have the ability to make that call or to send that email to let you know what's going on with them versus just, leaving it to the side, which could create a not so great experience for the person on the other end.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the other thing that I've seen you do really well, your team, Megan, is engaging mentors. That's something that, particularly when we don't own the mentor's time like a corporation does, where it's like, other duties as expected,
Yeah.
sort of fits that, hey, we need you to mentor some people, Bill. That doesn't always happen. But at IFPA, we have been very successful attracting mentors, and we even have repeat mentors or mentees becoming mentors,
Yeah.
coming up now that they've had some real experience. And one of the ways that I've seen that happening is by sharing a lot of successes. So can you talk about some of the successes and the things that you've been able to share to really continue to engage a wide range of people, both mentors and mentees?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we now, as Amy mentioned in the intro, we started this really kind of from grassroots, matching people kind of very manually, and a lot of that came out of COVID and trying to find a way to connect people, and just from starting small like that, and then growing and seeing the need and seeing the success of that, to then knowing, this is a lot to do on your own without a trusted partner to help facilitate those connections and use the algorithm and all of those things. So, we've seen success from the very first program that still carries through to today. They're still meeting. They've grown their circle. Some of them started out as, mentor mentee pairs, and now they've paired up with other mentor and mentee pairs and have a group that jumps on a Zoom call once a month and, brings in guest speakers even. And so it's definitely evolved. We set forth kind of the time from the April conference through the end of the year as the expectation for a relationship, but we've seen great success in people taking that far beyond that set time frame and kind of our set loose guardrails that we have for them, and really made this their own. And I would also say you mentioned some of the mentees that now feel more comfortable being mentors. I really put that as a level of success for the program because I don't know if those women in particular for this program would have had the confidence or
Mhm.
felt empowered to be able to take that step if they hadn't first had that good, successful experience as a mentee. So we're always trying to have more mentors because it seems, at least in our space, we trend more for women put themselves in the mentee bucket first before putting themselves in the mentor bucket. So to see that transition has been really powerful and really successful. And just, you hear stories all the time about I really leaned on my mentor and now I took that step to apply for the promotion, or I have a more balanced work life blend. It's the little things, but it's also the big things as well that we've heard from the start of this program through to now. It's still continuing.
Yeah, and the other thing that's super interesting about the Fresh Perspectives program is that we have a lot of people who apply as both a mentor and a
Yeah.
mentee. And so that's been really interesting to see that evolve. Is after year one, we really had a lot of people who said, I'd like to be both. And that's been a really interesting evolution as well, that even some of our more senior mentors are saying, hey, I wouldn't mind having a mentor as well. So that's also been very interesting to see. And you do have some rock star mentors who are able to do those interactions and add a lot of fulfillment even to folks who are not necessarily early career.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to, we've seen growth, right, every year. And even if, and I look at it as success too, if someone says, like, oh, I'm continuing my relationship with my mentor and from last year, so I don't need to be put back in the program again this year. They found that connection. They found that person that really works for them in this setting. I think, what we found overall is that everyone is seeking these kind of relationships. Some people are more likely to go up to someone or and make the ask and feel comfortable doing that. This program has allowed those people who are not in that space and don't feel as comfortable going up to, Christy and saying, "Hey, I admire what you did up there. Would you mind being my mentor?" It's allowed them to create those connections outside of their day to day. Because I think that's the beauty, at least from what we've seen from an association wide perspective, is as they mentioned, we from farm to fork, we have all the companies in between on the supply chain, and to be able to talk to someone that understands your general ecosystem, but also may work in a totally different area from you, but
Mm.
you're still connected on a lot of these things. Um, that's been so great to see, and to see women be able to have that facilitated connection and have it have an impact that maybe they would have never taken that step forward to ask for a mentor or to, say this is something that I need. This program has really helped people to be able to make those connections, which has been wonderful to see.
Yeah, it gets past that awkwardness. We
Yeah.
know from research that about, 25% of people are going to go out and they're going to get their own mentor, or they're going to give it a try. But lots of people don't feel comfortable with that, or, they don't necessarily get exposure to who's out there even
Yeah.
to meet. So I think you're right, that presenting the opportunity and then helping people be prepared to take it is part of the magic. And one of the other things I wanted to ask about too is structure versus non-structure. We have, some organizations, some folks who, and I see Jenny Pickett there here. Hey, Jenny, from NAMA on the call. And we had a conversation with her mentors and mentees around, how structured to make it. We don't want it so structured that the structure is the point, right? That we're so busy about checking the boxes that we don't focus on the relationship. But we also know from our experiences, I think, Megan, that just saying, hey, here's somebody, good luck, is also not enough structure. So can you comment a little bit on, what your observations are and how you would think about structured versus unstructured?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect question because I know, Christy, our first kind of try at this, we were very much so, we don't want to give them too many guardrails because we want to kind of leave them open, allow them to form their own relationships, allow them to, make their schedules as they want. Don't feel like we're kind of overseeing what's supposed to be these very personal connections and relationships. And I think what we found is that's true. That's 100% true. But people also, when they're committing to something, they want to kind of see some of those milestones throughout the journey. So I think being able to have enough structure where you can set the expectations up front, have some clear communications throughout where you're kind of checking in, making sure, again, you're giving that space for if something's not working for them to come back to you. And then also having, Pollinate has some great resources available to people, and being able to provide them as additional structure to individual meetings without being prescriptive. So, I'm not going to give us I'm not going to say, Megan, you have to use this agenda when you meet with your mentee, but here's some templates, or here's some things we would start with for your first meeting, and so on and so on. I think that really helps people to feel more comfortable in those initial discussions and those initial meetings, and also gives people a way to set milestones for some of the goals that they've set in the beginning. So I think it's that blend of enough structure with also allowing them to structure their own time together a little bit more freely, especially as they feel more comfortable with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have also noticed in every program, and Fresh Perspectives is no exception. Some people want you to give them structure. They want to say, just tell us what to do and we'll do it. And some people do not want that. So the options, as you say, the
Yeah.
self-serve options are good from that perspective of you're not over prescribing people who don't need it.
Yep.
But you're also not leaving people in the lurch who are like, hey, this is really new
Yeah.
and I'm not sure what to do. So having
And
that.
I think
Yeah.
people want to be successful at this, right?
Yes.
Like they sign up for a reason. They want to see success for themselves, but they want to see success in who they've been paired with, whether that be in the mentee role or the mentor role. So in giving some people some things that can say, "Oh, good, like I did that. I think we're on the right path." I think gives people that confidence to continue on, because we all know that initial start can be really natural and great, or it can be a little bit of a rocky road when you're first getting started. So I think having that kind of menu of options that people can choose from and utilize is so key in making this a seamless and beneficial, program for everyone.
For sure, for sure. So I have a couple of, one question from the floor and then one that came to us
Sure.
before, but I think you've already started to answer, like, how do you know it's valuable? And I think you've talked about, us having that sort of not intrusive, but the constant ability for people to give feedback and some punctuations with pulse checks. But how, when you're looking across your portfolio, which I know is fairly vast, Megan, of different programs that you offer, how do you decide this one is valuable and we're going to keep doing it?
Yeah, so I mean, it is really just that constant feedback and seeing some of the successes that we've mentioned. I think this year we're looking at how do we grow beyond the conference and offering this mentoring here. And I think that's due directly to hearing from women. Like, I talked to another woman in my organization, and she's eager to have something like this for herself. How do we extend this value even further? So it's really listening to your members. I mean, it's like anything in the association world, listening to your members, addressing their needs. I think it's communicating the success as well. A lot of times you know the value, but until you actually showcase that out to the rest of the world or your membership base, they don't really get it. It's just like when you have to experience something to know. So I think that's key. I'll be honest, we have mentor aspects in not as formal as the Women's Fresh Perspectives, but we have mentor aspects to many of our talent programs. They're a lot smaller, a lot more compact, but I think overall I haven't had, you know, anyone really say that some aspect of that relationship and that connection was not beneficial and didn't provide value for them. In looking at talent and retention strategies in general, and I know, I'm sure have data on this, it's having someone in that position leads to greater employee retention overall. So the value's there, the research is there to support it. I think it's communicating that out to those that are going to be involved and then sharing the successes that you've had.
And getting them to try it, like you said,
Right.
just
Yep.
try it. Try it and see, because most people do have a good experience. Most
Yeah.
people do have something. And I think what you said too about piloting, so much learning comes from the pilot of
Yeah.
having, enough, not such a small group of people, it's not a true experience, but enough people that it's like, okay, then, this is kind of the flavor, texture, color, theme, etc., that starts to come out of that. Yeah, for sure. Final question, and then we'll open it up for any other questions that people might have. One of the things that our other association folks are wondering about is you have had some great success, Megan, in getting sponsorship for the program. So I'm not talking about, taking from sponsorship for the women in the program necessarily, but for the program in general. So tell us a little bit, if you don't mind giving us a bit of your playbook about how we had Rocket Apple's sponsor last time.
Yep.
How do you approach somebody to sponsor a program, and what might that conversation look like, and what do you bring to the table? How does that go?
Sure. I mean, we're very lucky. The Women's Fresh Perspectives portfolio in general has really built a strong following, and our industry is very supportive of making sure that programs like this and the other talent programs that we do are supported, because they see the value and they see the importance of having these offerings, not only for the individuals within their companies, but for the betterment of the entire industry. We have a wonderful sales team that we work with internally that stays so connected with our members and their needs, and our membership team does as well, to know, what are they looking for, what speaks to them, what's going to provide them both. In our space, it's the value, the exposure, but it's also the give back component too. So, for someone like Chell and Fresh, who with the Rocket Apples, how do they see the importance of the program, because they probably participated in it, and they see the importance of the Women's Fresh Perspectives portfolio. So how can we connect that's the value they see and that they want to continue, with also giving them the exposure for their brand at the same time? So I think it's kind of finding that fit that connects to whatever the program or portfolio of work is that you want to connect the mentorship program to, and then also providing that value. I mean, we've talked about value several times. It's how do you give that value back to those that are supporting you from a sponsorship perspective?
For sure, for sure. And they certainly got lots of airtime, both in any of the communications that went to the participants at the conference and so on. They got lots of accolades, and people were really thankful to them for the program. So I think, like you say, there's a lot of wins there for sure, for sure. Well, Megan, this has been amazing. The last thing that I would ask you is, can you share with us, and I'm winging this question at you, but I'm interested to know about your experience being mentored or being a mentor. Do you have any things from your past that were formative for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I started in this industry on kind of the sales and customer service side. I never thought I would go in. This was never something that was on my radar, even to be a part of this industry. And as I started, it was kind of, you get out of college, you find your first career, you're like, okay, I'll stay here for a little bit while I figure out what I want to do, right? And along the way, I met some really key people that, you know, influenced me in one, wanting to stay, and also in helping to carve what my path forward looked like. And I think without having those mentors to step in, I don't know if I would still be in this industry, or if I would have tried to, you know, take a step somewhere else, because I wasn't finding what I was initially looking for without that support. So for me, it's been a combination of the career growth and development piece of it that I've gotten from different mentors across my career. And then also just the professional and personal balance. I think everyone, no matter where they're at in their life, has to find how they find that blend that works for
Mm.
them. And I think it's so key to speak to others about what they're doing and what they've found that has helped them. And when you kind of start to figure some of that out, I think it leads to greater career development and growth. And I do think if I hadn't stepped outside some of my day-to-day conversations and hadn't had some of those other conversations with a mentor, I don't know if I would have gone for some of the positions that I went to that got me to where I am today. So I think it's key in growth and development. It's key in creating confidence to move forward. And I
Yeah.
think it's always nice to have additional support outside of the work that you're doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And actually our team was talking about today how, different times in both, the life of an industry and also the life of an individual. Sometimes the mentorship is really about hardcore knowledge transfer, and sometimes it's more social support,
Yeah.
right? It kind of goes back and forth, or building confidence. There can be different times when different things make a huge difference to us. And it sounds like myself, you had some people speak into your world at just the right times to
Yeah.
help you along your path. For sure. We have one other question around how many members does IFPA have?
I think we're over 2,500 right now, but I could be wrong on that. I can get clarity on that and make sure I get the right. We're a rather large trade show association, but you know, we're continuing to try to get new members too, from small to large. So we welcome anyone that's interested in membership in reaching out, and we can get you more information about who we are, what we do, and how we can help support anyone who's, you know, in the industry directly. You might not even think that you're connected in with produce and floral. We have lots of business solution providers
Mhm.
as well that are members of our association. So anyone needs more information, happy to help provide that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And that is another cool thing about the program is we have some people who are solopreneurs right through to,
Oh yeah.
great big multinationals, and everybody getting lots of exposure to the different worlds that they're in, for sure. For sure. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Megan, for this time. Really appreciate your time and sharing your expertise with the group and your conviction around mentorship being an important part of the education and talent portfolio in an association. I think you spoke really eloquently and really enjoyed talking to you. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I greatly appreciate the continued partnership that we've built. You make it very, very easy to continue working on these programs and building and growing them to continue to have success. So thank you to you and your whole team.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Megan. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Megan.
everybody, for
Thank
joining
you.
us.